We're going to look for all that good stuff. Um, if you guys have any questions or any setups that you're looking into, let me know. I'm going to kind of cover a lot in the sense of like strategy, like what do you do here at this point? And I'm looking for exit points on longs, even though I have TPs already kind of mapped out for myself. I still want to dive down a little bit deeper and look for some exit points if things just go the other way. So we did make an equal low here, but it did just push out all these orders here. There's a little sneaky little one right around like 1801 area. It's so much easier to see it from there. From this low right here, because we had a low here, and then we put in a new high in comparison to this low. Not a new high compared to these, but just it's an equal high. Let's just go there. It's an equal high. So it was a good thrust point. So there's a lot of orders that were placed there. We can see that a lot of those orders just got taken out. So it made an equal low, but then it just gobbled the rest of them. And this long wick body right here, this is, let's back up for a second. All right, let's just go back a step further. So when you see big thrusts like this, it's because there's a pull over here. So that's how they pick us. And then it came down here, and then we had some type of pattern that was forming in here. Really, what I was looking at was see this type of formation. Oh wow, it's crazy lag outside. Is it laggy for you guys, or it's good? Hold on. What's up, man? I'm good, bro. I'm just checking chat. It's lagging? Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know why it's laggy. There's days where my streams are fine, and then there's days where I get lag and I have no idea where it's coming from. Let me check OBS real quick. I'll try to make do. If I can't make do this way, I'll just have to redo the recording. Or like I'll have to drop it and then redo it. But we can get the gist of what I was trying to talk about over here. So we came up, we made a high, then we made like an equal low right here, and then we came over and just tapped on another equal high, right? Even though we have wicks, and what I'm talking about is like this formation right over here, like because this is where it started off. Right, as soon as I saw this come down and it made its first equal highs, I was like, oh. Immediately, my mind went to pennant, right? There's going to be some type of formation over there because it's making a high, so it did the same thing over here. So you have the dip down, the curve up, down, and then the curve up again here. So if it was a shorter one and there was more momentum to thrust down, it could have thrust down from there, but it just started breaking down from there. This is where I thought it was interesting. We were tracking a flag. The flag, it just became discombobulated. So we had something that looked like this. right? That can still be your flag setup. The only difference, well, not the difference, but the weird part is that, right, like it doesn't come necessarily like this because then these are all like head fakes. Oop, it's more. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's done yet. I mean, this candle itself is pretty strong. You have a long tail like that, closing above where the previous close was. I mean, that's decent. That's essentially what you want to see for absorption. Seeing that we're absorbing these thrusts, bears are going to start losing momentum. These are things that we're looking for. So want to make sure that you have your stop loss. When you have aggression like this, you want to have your stop loss set at an area where you get out, where you can also get right back in, especially if you're running a high leverage. If you're running a lower leverage and you have room to play with, then so be it. Then you can set your stop a bit different. Let's say we had an entry 1796. Still think tapped into a couple more times. It looks like that's what it wants to do. 30-minute. Let's go over to this 12-hour. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive the lag. Yeah, so that's what I was saying before. Like it made an equal low right here. If we close and hold this right here, then we have a good chance where we may come and test this 1825. Get rid of that. And that's going to be our first target from this pattern right here. So wave B is essentially like a determination area. You guys hear me talk about this a lot, but like, if we come and tap it down, and we break down, then we're more than likely come and test this area again here inside this pool, maybe even a little bit lower, potentially even being stopped. I think I was talking about this just yesterday in the stream. Like, I guess price coming right to this area and stopping me out, and then bouncing somewhere around here and then moving back up. So these are just areas of interest. It's difficult to nail it down. Just going back to my thought process on this was on a higher time frame, I have more confident moves, more confident data. So we had a change of character right here in this area. So this gap, that's an imbalance. This big old candle, it filled it. So that's an important candle. Obviously, sellers got involved because there's a tiny little wick. They try to push the price down, and bulls just defended this area. So from this wick to this wick, I have a small little imbalance where I'm getting my block from, and it worked out because we came right into the pool. I had 1796 mapped out, just as a hey, I can guarantee I'm going to get an entry in here. I'm under 1800, but there's also room for momentum, such as these wicks, because wicks represent liquidity. So we don't know if they're still hunting liquidity, meaning down a little bit more, even further, like push all these stops, like just just not care. Or like I said, we can find support right here. This is a true equal low. This becomes support, and then we start pushing back up. But if you guys have any questions, anything I can answer in regards to this setup, here you go, bro. To this setup or anything like that, just let me know. Right now, what we're doing is just kind of double checking the plan. Now that it's active, you got to make sure that it's going to do its job. That's the best way of putting it. So this is what we want to see. There's a TD9. I haven't seen you in a while, bro. Chug. So I use this indicator. It's a TD9 sequential. I won't dive into that now. I'll leave that for another video because it's a whole breakdown on its own. But the super simplified way is determining how exhausted are bears or bulls. So when we start printing nines and numbers that are above 7, there's exhaustion coming in play. So big thrust down here, then another thrust down here, but then the thrusts are going to start getting smaller and smaller. If that's the case, then there's exhaustion. Usually, from my experience, a 9 likes to be fancy and be the one like, hey, I'm going to be the exhaustion. But that's not always, so you can't 100% rely on it. It's just something to kind of check and see where exhaustion is at. That's on a 59 minutes, 4 hour. Okay, so this is actually an example, right? So on a team, Bears should have got exhausted right here. No. At 1824. Like from this, this throwdown, they came here, it printed a 9. They should have been exhausted. That's why you need others here, because this prints exhaustion. Just exhaustion. So at some point they're gonna, run themselves silly and abandon ship. And this is when bulls can start stepping in. So I'm looking at that. I'm seeing exhaustion there. What was that on a 4 hour? Yes. All right, cool. So let's take off. Oh my gosh, this lag is driving me insane, guys. And then let's check RSI. Obviously, I'm in a heavily oversold on a higher time frame. I'm on a 4 hour. Money flow, even so. I've been sprinkling in a little bit of this indicator. It's called a Twigs. It's just a little bit faster than an RSI, supposedly. So I've been on the side testing it, and it's pretty much in line here. I mean, we're in an oversold position right down here. So, all indicators are showing this is the area where you want to start looking to buying. My only concern would be this right here. As in DMI, there's more momentum, there's more juice to go because they just picked up strength. Because my ADX just busted 25, so that's my only alarming part, combined with MACD, which is also the lag indicator. But they just take up, there's a little bit more separation from the signal line, which is the orange, and the white is your actual MACD. And then your colored bar is going to represent your strength and momentum, if you will. So right now we've just picked up on more momentum on the bear side. So, there could be a little bit more thrust into this pool. So I would be patient on my orders, right? Like, don't see this long wick, and definitely don't come here to low time frames and just think, oh man, I missed the boat. I'm back down here again. I definitely don't have that attitude. I wouldn't, because that's how you get lost in a wash. This is going to be a key area here, 1825. I would expect some resistance. Shoot, even if I extend this, because this is where it came from, that's a trend line where it broke out from. So sometimes when I just have the straight lines, I just like to extend it right just to see how far it goes. That way I don't lose the geometric aspect of it. And so, right, so we go sideways, and we just made another equal high. So we may get another flag or a pennant over here. But if we can push up, right, if we can break this as an equal high, a couple candles, I would say we test this area here, this trend line, in this wave B. These area here, as it crosses, what does that put us at? Close to like 1:30 a.m. So by tomorrow, around 1:30 a.m., This would be the area that I'm like, all right, what's going on over here? If it decides to break an equal high, if it just goes sideways and just keeps doing this, then we may have a repeat of this, what we just came out of. That feels like that's a little bit too obvious, considering that we're in a heavily oversold area. Like, Jesus, even if it comes out of oversold and then pops itself right back into it, is overbought. Wow. No, it wasn't that place. Not that place. So when you see this on your lower time frames and you're basing your strategy on certain indicators and you're seeing, hey, it's oversold on higher time frame, but on lower time frames it's oversold, but technically it's not in oversold again. These could be pullbacks, right? Like these little tiny thrusts up, and then coming right back down, a little thrust up here, like this little angle. Yeah, they were trying to move it up, and then they moved it hard thrust down. That has to flip its nose up. Let's go to a lower time frame. Let's go to a 5 minute real quick. When I'm using RSI, I primarily like to use them on lower time frames. Again, just because they're lagging, so it's the shorter the time frame, the more real time I can get, if that makes any sense. So once I see like my lower time frame start to flip going bullish, I had to flip back to a higher time frame, maybe like a 4 hour, and tell myself, or at least look at my structure and go, okay, well, if I start to get bullish here, is this going to be like just another back before we have another dump? And that's possible, right? In order for this to be different, is we're probably going to have some sideways movement, and then we're going to have to make a move and close like above this 1829 to get a change of character, which is subsequently close to wave B, which is 1825. So that's what I was saying earlier. Like, this is an important area from this trend line, this wave B, and then these equal highs that were made over here. We have some order blocks. These might be what we would call late shorters, right? People that got in later today, they haven't been in all week, whatever, and they hop in, so that they've enjoyed this ride. But if they're holding under the impression that this is a swing and this is their swing entry, they may get round tripped, if not completely pushed out when we come up to 40. Right? Because this is not a swing, guys. Right? This is smack dab in the middle of the internal structure, like right in the middle of it. So just remind yourself of that when you are taking these entries. Let's say you got in over here today. This is a scalp entry. I'm hoping you got out, or at least you trimmed like a nice decent portion at the 96, 93, maybe even 1800. You know, treat yourself. Especially, we've all been patient for the last, I don't know, geez, like almost 2 weeks now, but a good like dry 5 days of just sitting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. So reward yourself. Let me check chat real quick. She's okay. She's okay. Yeah, okay. Here. Well, can you do me a favor? He's playing again. Don't worry about it. I'll get it. Don't worry about it. I was gonna get a towel because she just knocked that whole water bottle into the trash can. There you go. How's that for recording? Sorry, guys. Let's go here. So one thing I do want to check, I want to check on 3-day because we're coming up to a new session on a 3-day. Right? And this is, I gotta, on that 3 day, right? Like if we get an open and the open comes up to, let's say 41, like best case scenario, I would anticipate we not only move down to this like 57 benchmark. I wouldn't be surprised if we come in higher. Right? I think this area from 25 to 41 are like super important. Like how we approach 25, like we have immediate rejection, then we might be being front ran, and that 618 won't get tapped straight down. Right? It's trapped in between two fibs right now. So literally, like we're taking long entries inside of a golden pocket, which is not bad. It's not bad at all. Like this is where we want to take them if we're going to take any longs. But you got to be on the sticks, right? I wouldn't go full port, or at least go nuts here. And then just be prepared. Like, hey, if we get rejection right here, don't be afraid to take profits from right here, right? If we come up here, we reject, but then we come back down, and then we push back up to here. Let's say this 41, and then we have another rejection, like a hard rejection. It starts to make like a wick. Then we know we're going to be topped off here. Then I would be looking to reload my short. I strip my long heavily, 60%, 50%, and then see what happens around here. Because, we may come up to 41 and retrace back down to 25 and then hold 25 and then boom out of here. If that's the case, obviously I stripped 50, 60%. I'm holding 40% of that long. I come over here. I come and test this area. If I bust out of here, then I'm longing the heck out of this area. Right, because then this activates a different plan, which is it's an inverted head and shoulder. Which I need to check on that. I need to make sure that's still actually valid due to this recent drop over here. I needed to hold 1820s, which is right here. So it would still validate the inverse head and shoulder. Let's check on that real quick. There you are. No, I don't have that skin. I don't know if this is valid anymore. I really needed to stay over here. I really needed to stay in this area. It's 1821 and just kind of maintain it. And we got another 2 hours. I mean, if the crypto gods allow it and pull us all the way back up to this area here, that would be insane. That would be extremely bullish. I mean, something similar to that happened over here. Right, this candle here, and even this one right here, right where the head was formed, big dump and then a pull all the way back up to here from, what was this, 1770, and it pulled all the way back up to the 1820 region. So if we can't climb above this, then I would invalidate this inverse head and shoulder. Then literally where the peak was as support, if you will, is now going to become resistance. So it's going to be flipped. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like I'm going to double check my entries, because if I can break this area here, then let's go. I'd add to my longs. And then if I can get above this, hold on. It's a moving it's an indicator for moving averages, but essentially if price action is below it, you want to be in a sell position looking for sells. If action reaches above it, then you're looking for longs. So again, it's just another tool for you to use to look at for confirmations on where exits should be, what areas I should be interested as far as for an exit based on this movement that we had. It's been stale for 2 weeks. Finally have movement. I want to take profits. I want to make money since I've been sitting on my hands for the last week. Where should I be? If you take profits here, and let's say you took heavy profits and then it keeps booming up, that's fine, right? You want to get above 1873 for your next long. That's going to be a safer long. You start to long here in this area, you can feel like you're getting thrown around in a wash. Or you could just start adding to the liquidity pools and then they can be taken. So I'm super proud of us, as unit, as a class, like the entry that we took down here, um, butterfly. Let me get rid of this shoulder. No, I'm serious. Right. And let's just remember this for future reference, right? Like when we see activity like this, like these are little pools that are being made. And then you see these big giant thrusts, right? That's liquidity being taken. That's going to be really, really, really crazy if it pulls back up to 1825. I don't know if we have enough juice for that though, guys. Yeah, see, I mean, we're oversold. Like this momentum's like got more strength in them. Yes, yeah, everything is showing us like, hey, we got a little bit more left in us, guys. Let's not have a. Yeah, we would need to break that to be considered bullish. Like we can do one of these, and then, which would be probably this right here. It would be that move that we were just talking about. Oh yeah, measure your move, right? So I'm gonna measure from here to here. Just looking for the stop, the 50 mark. At the bare minimum, I need to climb over 1811. Like if we can get back over 1811, then this break of structure will go away. Just be a wick. It won't be a break of structure. Right now we have a break of structure because we have a body that's beyond this low. And so this could have been the low for the structure because this is going to be a new structure. So we may be seeing some sideways action. But this is what we want. We don't want this to close somewhere down here because then it's a setup for what we got right over here. And this was yeah, right there. It's going to be a repeat of this. So this next day candle, how it opens is like really, really important. Like we can get a strong open and push and then hold, like just even something like this, 1819. And then maybe we retrace back down and then we hold this 1811. I'll feel good about the long. I'll feel real good about the long. But, if we open and then we come in tap, if I extend this line, right, because this is part of where we got out from. So these areas are important as far as like just tracking where trends are going to be coming up to. Extend that right. All right, what is that? 1814. So we get above 1811. It's like, oh yeah, that's great. But then if it just comes in, crashes right back down, even on the next day, I think that's giving it too much love. 1813, somewhere in that ballpark. Like if it sandwiches in between here and it can't get above, then it's got more room. It's probably going to come right back down into here. More likely hunting stop losses that people set for right over here. or even these. Shit, that's where my stop is, and that's where wave D is. Would not be surprised if that gets hunted. So if you didn't get any of these entries down here, like I said, just be patient. Just wait for them to fill. I have a funny feeling we're gonna touch these areas again. Steady, right? If we don't touch these areas, let's say we come down to like 1803 or something like that, 1800, I would start to DCA like around 1800. You just test your grounds, maybe like 2%, 3% of your port, and building from there. You get back across here, we can climb up here, then you can start going in a little bit heavier right here in this area. Right, and what I mean by like heavier is like don't go like 15% and go to maybe like 6%. I just go a little bit heavier and hold and hold and hold and hold. We cross this line here. I feel a little bit better about it. I would still be careful though because you get a fast pump and you're like, oh shit, I missed it, and then heart rate right back down. We literally saw it today, right? Little mini pump up to 28 and then retrace all the way down to 17 and further down to 95. So literally everyone longing this right here, this uptrend, they got liquidated. Because I'm pretty sure they had their stop set somewhere around here, and then it pushed all the way down to here. And I have a feeling that's what price action is going to do. It's going to retrace right to where people's previous stops were at, because maybe they're still holding onto that long, and then they're going to exit right there, which will probably trigger this to come down again. Typical thing I can think of because of this thrust. So this is the anti-butterfly. This is, I wanted to kind of recap because since it's active, it's fresh. It can be paired well with the post. So if anybody wants to run back through it and just kind of understand not only the psychology behind the setup for it, but how we arrive to our entry points and what we're looking for potential and take profit. I'll give you the the moon answer, right? Like, let's go to the moon. If we cross that, this 41 and 73 area, then yeah, we're testing 77. And then, this would be a full exit for me if it did that. If it did that. And that would take time. That wouldn't happen like in a day, next day, or week, or anything like that. Yeah, it's losing on lower time frame. So let's check this out. I just got a couple alarms that went off on 5-minute. Oh. They said this is not exactly what we're looking for. Right? You have equal highs here. You have a wick that's pushed up to it. Right? It's a little tiny one, but start training your eyes to start seeing stuff like this.
By the time the monster gets here, we gotta hide behind that box. Yeah, like that.
Yep.
Just
and since it would be such a small pennant, and if it were to thrust down based on that measure move, oh my gosh, the lag, stop, there it goes. Yeah, I mean, that would put us sub 1780. like right at the bottom of this OB. I mean, and it doesn't have to happen right from that area. I mean, it can happen from here, and then that would put us further down. Right, like if it just started juicing right now, 1783. But I would expect that to be a wick, right? Liquidity hunts, and then push right back up. But it's early. This is what we just have to be on guard for. Like we need shit like this to, excuse me, stuff like this to break. Because right in between here, you're already getting a type of imbalance. People don't know if they want to sell and short here. People don't know if they want to long here. Some people making decisions at all, and that's part of money man's. Our whole objective is to push you out, collect your order, and then push you out. The longer you sit in it, the longer you rake in more funds because you're not being taken. So you're not giving anything to the market. You're just sitting there, sitting in an unrealized P&L. So their objective is to try to hunt your P&L. So everyone that came in at 1796 that's sitting green, who's like, oh, this could be a swing. It very well could be a swing. I'm not doubting that at all. The whole anti-butterfly is based on a swing. But all I want to drive home is that there is potential that it can go a little bit lower, like even down to our stop. And that doesn't mean that it's going to keep going, right? It can come to our stop and then push right back up. You got to be able to shake that stuff off and then just put your order right back in. That's the kind of fast moves that we're going to see. But these equal highs are driving out right now. Not going to lie. Especially being tweeter tops. I don't even need, I'll be honest with you. I could take a thrust up to 1811, and then let's say it just retraces right back down to here, or even retraces back down to here. I break this equal high. Let's break this equal high so we can get, late shorters out. Get them out quickly. Hunt their stops, right? Then retrace right back down. I think everyone that came in here in 1796 and maybe even lower, I feel like you have a strong position. It's just like when we took 1805 and we rode it up to 1870. It's one of those moves. It's going to start off a little bit slow, and then we're going to get to a turning point where we're like, all right, cool, I'll start adding here. I'm not going to come back down to here. Like I just know I'm not going to visit here for at least for a little while. Hey, we broke an equal high. And what you're looking for when you're seeing stuff like this is, right? Because when you have equal highs, you have institutional money that's in play. Big ballers are in play, so they're controlling the price. When you start to see the move back up, they're doing something on their end. They're either spoofing accounts, manipulating exchanges. Like there's many different things going on. I'm just looking for the nuts and the bolts of what's going on. Equal highs lets me know that there's money mans involved. If they're pushing past it, then that gives me relief, letting me know, okay, my long feels a little bit more safe here. And I'm not trying to sound repetitive. I'm just trying to give you guys every detail as far as what I'm thinking when I'm looking at a chart and what's going through my mind. Whether it be a current play, a play that I've mapped out before, or where we could go. It's crypto. I mean, it's not necessarily your strategy changes. It's just you have to be able to flip based on what the market's providing you. And there's many a times I wanted to go a certain way, but I've learned not to argue with it. So, they got to be running out of juice by now, though, man. Like, I think we saw exhaustion on. What was that, 4 hour that we were looking at? Yeah, that's good example right there. Yeah, I'm gonna laugh my ass off if this pulls all the way to 1825, guys. Because I mean, what this wick is representing right now, it doesn't represent dominance. It just represents that there's liquidity, that someone's pushing to collect all these orders, push all these stops out. Okay. I will say this though, guys, we are thinking like money market folks, because if our entries are getting tagged within like $3 of call outs, and we're doing it days in advance, then we're seeing the same thing that they're seeing. And we're human beings, we're not bots. So you guys should definitely be proud of yourselves if you took those entries. Like you took those entries with confidence, like, yep, I could see that. And I say that because you need to remind yourself that you may not get every single call right, but the ones that you do get right, remind yourself, like, I know my shit. I know what I'm doing. You're going to make mistakes, but you're going to have those days where you get things right. You got to remind yourself, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Oh, for insurance. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. And that's just on a 4 hour. I don't even think I went to a 12 hour yet. I think I did. Oh, I just printed a 9. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. I like to see that. I'm excited to see that actually, guys. Because usually I get a reprieve after I print a 9 on a higher time frame. Like you can see it here, like we printed a 9 and then we set a new high. It retraced the entire high, but that's not the point. The point is that that was relief and we set a new high. Right? And then that became support. Same thing here, push down. This became a 9. We set a new high on a local internal. But did we test it? No. Depends where this closes. Man, this would be great. If it closes here and then we get an open, maybe push down to here and then move up. A big strong open on a 12 hour, but I think that's wishful thinking. Ah, nah. I mean, there's room to go here, so I can't discount that out yet. Knowing that I have room to go down, finding a time frame that makes sense, somewhat manageable. An hour, 59 minute. Let me take this off because that it just makes my chart too busy. It makes yeah. So even on an hourly, the trend is starting to turn bullish. We don't have a change of character yet, but just based on the Alma, right? So bearish, bullish. Double cross reference that with an RSI. They are trying to say it's already overbought though, quick. So we got to watch out for that. Make sure that this is not the flag setup, because you can get a flag out of that. It would be an ugly flag, but I doubt. I think like a 618 would probably be somewhere like around there. So I could still flag from here. Like if I can climb above 1815, then I don't think we'll have a flag on our hands. I'll say we've bottomed out and we're now looking to move up to here, up to 73. Weak resistance, strong resistance. So people are going to be setting shorts right here and setting shorts right here. Liquidity, that's for thrust. There's a huge imbalance right over here. People that are setting shorts right here, perfect, because there's some balance right here. Perfect for the taking. And then you got this whole area over here, here, and here. Perfect for taking. This is just a strong area, but I mean, there's got to be a ton of orders here, guys. Ton of orders. And so if we can blow past that, if we can get past 70, I'm telling you, this thing is going to teleport. It is going to teleport. We get past this mound, oops, this mound right here. You're going to see 76 in a blink of an eye. I'm telling you. And I've given you guys my bearish sentiment before, like areas that we can go and touch. It's on the map. Like there's liquidity down here, so if all these areas fail, then my next major area of interest is going to be down here. I'm not going to be interested in 57. A lie. I would be interested. I want to see the reaction there. You know, if there's pauses there and equal lows, then I might dabble in some scalps there. But like big, juicy, nice, fat swings, I would come here. This area. I'm on. This is on a different map, but I'm not going to pull up that map. I'm just going to kind of show you, right? Like we're in an uptrend. Let's take all this crazy shit off. So that's a little bit more visual for you guys. So if we lose this uptrend, and it, like this is just like we have a teleport up, like we have a lot of room to come just fill this very quickly. Very quickly. You guys saw how fast this move was on these candles? And just the other day, I think we moved like almost a full 100 pips in a mass. That's crypto. So this area that we mapped out before, let me get into this. Right over here, you know, all of us take over here. We're outside of that trend, which is a good snipe shot prepared for moves down. Don't get discouraged. You know what other areas that we can go to. So it's just kind of like you're just waiting for it, just fishing. Like I know where they're going to go. That's where I'm going to set my next orders. And so this uptrend, even though a lot of people are setting their orders to it, it can become liquidity. And how you'll know that is if there's a big thrust out of this, then this whole uptrend was just bait. From June till now, it was just bait. 2 months of bait, 3 months of bait. And then it'll just thrust down and just come and clean and collect all the orders over here. Everyone that's setting limit orders right here, people that are setting limited orders over here, it's going to come down. All right. I'm going to title this one the anti-butterfly. I'll put it inside of the chart patterns. I'll put it inside the streams, but I'll also put it inside of the chart patterns. So if anyone's ever going through chart patterns and they want specific trainings, that's allocated towards chart patterns. The anti-butterfly will be inside there. And again, this is just kind of give you guys a better insight onto just the psychology behind entry points and exit points when we have a move, or at least a setup that is now active. We're no longer waiting for a play to play out. It's actually now playing out. And so this is how we respond. And this is how we essentially protect capital. Got to be on the sticks. I swear I work up an appetite every time I come and I start chatting, start streaming. If anyone's curious, I still have the short active. I took roughly around like 60% profits on 96, and then I left the rest running for it. And then my long is averaged to right at 1800.72. Just because I started front running a little bit early, but that's where I'm at. I'll be managing that. Like I said, if you guys have questions about this setup, just drop them in the chat. Other than that, I'm gonna go get something to eat, and then I'll be back.